Correspondent Vicky Young, who's at the conference in Margate. Vicky, over to you.
Yeah, and the conference here has just started. The party faithful here seem in very buoyant mood, and that's the idea of this. They want it to be a rallying cry to the troops to get out there and campaign hard. Although they say they're being very realistic about what they can achieve in the election. They know they're not going to come in and form a government, but they certainly want to get a decent number of seats so they can have some influence. Let's discuss it a bit more with the party's economic spokesman, Patrick O'Flynn. You've talked today about possibly supporting a Tory budget on deficit reduction. Why do you think you want to do that?
Well, this country has been in serious deficit with its public finances since 2002 and has added about £1 trillion to the national debt. So the Treasury plan to eliminate that debt deficit by 2018 is perfectly reasonable. What we notice is at the beginning of this Parliament, George Osborne made some pledges that the deficit would be gone by now, but there was no force in Parliament to actually hold his feet to the fire on that pledge. So we intend UKIP MPs to hold the feet to the fire of the next Chancellor to make sure that the deficit is wiped out by 2018.
Now, do your numbers add up, though? People have looked very closely at your health spending plans. They say that that £3 billion isn't enough to train as many doctors and nurses as you say you want to.
Well, our full plans, tax and spending plans, will be out when the manifesto comes out, but we've identified some pretty big savings in other public spending budgets, what I would call the vanity spending on foreign aid. We intend to bring down from 11 billion down to 2 billion, whereas the other parties will push it up to 12 billion pretty soon. Obviously later in the Parliament we'd have the end of net contributions to the EU, which is averaging
quite a long way off though,
yes,
isn't it?
but that averages between 8 and 10 billion. We would scrap HS2, which means saving on capital spending of on average 2 billion a year through the next Parliament. We will also look to equalise public spending per head between Scotland and England, which would save several billion more. So we have actually, unlike the other parties, we're not going to be making unfunded promises, and we're determined that our sums will add up.
Now, can I just ask you about your leader, Nigel Farage? People increasingly saying this election campaign is going to be all about him trying to hold and get hold of the seat next door. Why has he flown thousands of miles across the Atlantic to America to make a speech to a room that's basically empty when his conference is going on here?
Well, I think that's a very unkind characterisation. He has an international profile now, and that's incredibly useful to our party, and indeed a huge profile on the national stage, which again is incredibly useful to a smaller party. And we've seen some of the struggles of some of the other smaller parties recently, and I think they would give their right arm to have someone like Nigel Farage. We are here only a few hundred yards from the border of the constituency he will be fighting in May, and there's been a very good opinion poll obviously come out overnight which shows that he is ahead in that seat. I think the British public and the people of Thanet South will conclude that his contribution to British politics over the last 5 years has been immense, and that the place for him, the place he belongs and the place he merits being, is in the House of Commons.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.